So that was in October. I don't remember exact date. I think my personal assistant will remember the day, but I don't remember. But I know it was in October, 2 weeks to the start of the league.
We'll talk about your personal assistant later on. So, yeah, Kwesi Appiah, and that was it.
And that was it. So he called me to his house. After accepting it from Asante-Fosu, Kwesi called me to their house, and the deal was done within a day. And then, I think it was in September, because we traveled in October, and then we traveled in October. That was it. Just like that.
There was no problem. I mean, you were cool with...
It's Kwesi Appiah calling me.
Right. Straight. You don't say no to Kwesi Appiah.
No.
You don't say no to Real Madrid.
For me, let's be frank. If you check all my Twitter and every post about Kwesi Appiah, even before I worked with him, I admired him so much. Because for me, he's the best Kenyan in the last 10 years to handle the Black Stars.
Okay.
He's apparently the first.
And you had this view even before you worked with him.
Yes. I had always hold this view. And in Ghana, there are people who are for you, people who are against you. I was a neutral, but for me, you can say I was for him because I liked his style, and for the mere fact that he's a Ghanaian, and because at that time I was aspiring to coach the Black Stars. So if there is a Ghanaian coaching the Black Stars, yes, he might have his own problems. It's not always rosy with coaches. But then, I think he was there because starting a qualifier, from what I have come to know, and ending a qualifier is a huge responsibility. Because players you begin with sometimes will change form. You understand? And you have to bring in new players and what have you. So it is huge. And knowing that at that time, what were the players he was coaching? Asamoah Gyan, John Mensah, John Pinsel, Suleiman Terry, Michael Essien. These were big players, and you never heard anything bad. So you knew that his man management style was good. You never hear of him having controversies with journalists like Ignatius, who always do and what have you. Eric, I'll talk about this guy.
Yeah, he's also a Ghanaian.
Yes. He worked with Hasselhoff.
Yeah, worked with
One board was the Hasselhoff coach. He was the goalkeepers coach.
Yeah.
So for me, my admiration for Kwesi meant that I was only there to learn.
Fantastic. Not
about anything.
There are great stories. I mean, Eric's story, former Hearts of Oak goalkeepers coach, yours, Kwesi Appiah. Let's delve into yours. So once you agreed on the plane straight?
Yeah. I think I agreed on a Monday. On a Sunday we left.
Accra, straight?
Yes.
And you knew at the time Sudan had problems.
Yes.
They couldn't play at home.
Because in May, I have a friend who, so to speak, is looks to be my son. He's a footballer. He was playing for Al-Merrikh in Al-Merrikh in Sudan. He came back and stayed with me for more than 6 months because there was problems there. So I knew there was.
And that was okay for you. It was Kwesi Appiah factor.
I remember, yes, it was Kwesi's factor. I remember asking Kwesi that, senior man. I call him senior man. I'm like, senior man. They don't play at home. Because I remember when he went to sign the contract, I looked through the contract, there was nothing like qualifiers to the World Cup, qualifiers to the AFCON. There was nothing like that in the contract. So, but Kwesi begins to speak after signing the contract and say like, I want to qualify this team to the World Cup. This was a Wednesday. And I'm like, Chairman, senior man, when we were going, because we did the deal in Jeddah, and we were staying in Taif at that time. It's 2 hours drive. So we were going, I was quiet, and we were going. Then he was like, hey, boy, you look to be quiet. I'm like,
now we'll drink. Yes.
I'm like, why won't I be quiet? You just want to say that we have to qualify for the World Cup. Why we don't even play at home? He was, Ignatius, don't worry. God is in control.
So the city of Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, just for our viewers, you got there, everything was sorted, and then what happened after that?
So we moved to Taif. That's where we were camping. Because at that time, the Sudanese league was not on. And I think there was only Hilal that was playing the Champions League. So a lot of their players, like the best team, so for them there are two best teams, Hilal and Merrikh. They normally play in the Champions League. So Merrikh had been knocked out of the Champions League. It was Hilal. So the Merrikh players together with other U17, U20, U23 players were in Taif for us to go and come.
Taif is also Saudi Arabia. It's another city, yeah.
Yes, 2 hours drive from Jeddah.
Mm-hmm.
So we were there to camp and coach these guys for them for us to use them until the Merrick boys.
Had Eric joined you or
no,
not
so
yet?
That time with Fatau. So with Fatau, we played, I think, 2 World Cup qualifier matches.
Mm-hmm.
That's in November. So we're there in Taif, and then they told us that we have to travel to Libya to honor our World Cup qualifiers. That's when I got that the thing was enormous tax.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are in Libya, you are in Saudi Arabia. Yeah. You had a game in 3 days or 4 days time, and they said that travel to Libya to play. Libya itself is not stable like that, so it was huge. But what kick-started, I think for me, was the win. So our first game against Togo, when we went in October, we played some international friendlies in Saudi, mm-hmm, with Tanzania and Chad. But in the World Cup qualifier, was against Togo and Congo. So for Togo, it was draw 1-1. And then it was a Congo that kickstart everything. That I think gave everybody the belief, the Sudanese people, they believe that we could do it.
Why?
Because Congo is one of the best I have seen. I think in the AFCON they were third. They played very, very and extremely well.
Everybody talks about Ghana being passionate. I've been to Sudan just once and I've tasted how crazy they're about football. You were in the cauldron. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the Sudanese fans and their passion for football.
So they are Sudanese people are extreme people. When I say they are extreme people, it's like when a Sudanese is happy, he's too much happy.
Over the top.
Yes.
When he's angry,
too much angry. That's why I say that they are extreme people. You see, in Libya, a lot of them are, so to speak, refugees. But anytime we play a game in Libya, the stadium is full.
Yeah, we saw that, yeah.
The people you see in the stadium, okay, let me put it well. The people outside the stadium are too much than the people in the stadium.
There are more people outside.
Outside than the people in the stadium. So if you watch the Ghana, when we played Ghana, you see that where the Ghana supporters were, from the start of the game, they were not open. The people were threatening to break into the stadium, so the police had to open.
So they get space
for them to come into the stadium. Otherwise, these people will go crazy. They love football. I was told that we are not even lucky to be training in Sudan, because when they train at Hilal Stadium, sometimes they get as many as 50,000 supporters watching.
Just training?
Yes, to watch the training session.
Wow.
I'm telling you, when we went to South Sudan to play some of our games, sometimes we had to give, like if we were training in the morning, we tell them it's in the evening. If we are training in the evening, we tell them it's in the morning.
Just to get space.
Otherwise you are not going to get, because there will be chaos, and we didn't want chaos. I remember one time we made a mistake, train on a field. The people that came there after the training session, it took us 2 hours to get into the bus for us to go.
Give us a sense of South Sudan. I know their issues. What is it? So Accra, Kumasi?
Yes. So essentially, it is one people.
Right.
So it's like Accra and Kumasi.
But politically?
Divided. So the day I felt very, 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 like, I don't know to say bad or something, was when we played South Sudan in South Sudan.
Sudan
versus South Sudan.
In South Sudan.
In the World Cup qualifier. They were opening their new stadium. Infantino was there. Trust me, the stadium erupted when they sang the Sudanese anthem, because everybody in the stadium was singing the Sudanese anthem.
Interesting. And South Sudan?
It's a country on its own, but because they were essentially one people,
they were singing.
They were singing because they knew how to sing it. So It's like Kumasi and Accra now. Then maybe Kumasi or Accra decide to separate itself from Ghana. So everybody knows the national anthem, and everybody was like. And when we finished the game, virtually it was like mixed feelings. Everybody was happy, everybody was sad at the same time, because it's like
politics,
and what have you, and very, very good people.
Tell us about the pressure.
in our job.
Yes, especially the Sudan job.
So for me, coaching has always been a pressure job. Whether you like it or yes, it's a pressure job. You have to understand. But it makes the pressure comes even more this time because you know that these people, it looks like football now is their only hope. And I was told that if we are going to play today, or let's say we play tomorrow, today there will not be war. Everybody puts his arm down. Tomorrow everybody goes to watch the game. Tomorrow next everybody goes to celebrate. And then the fourth day, the war will continue.
Wow.
So at least if we play a game, we give them 3 days of peace. And that's where the pressure comes. That you always want to do well and win so that they can have something to celebrate. I learned when we qualified, up until now, people are still celebrating in Sudan.
But it's sad that you've not gone back yet to celebrate with the fans in Sudan.
Yes.
When is that going to happen?
Let's just pray. Maybe in March it will happen. Maybe in March it will happen. Because I learned now situations are calmer than before.
And there's talk of this qualification getting Sudan closer to peace. And then maybe the World Cup qualifiers coming up, a lot of pressure there too, could be the catalyst for total peace in that country. And is that pressure or is it motivation?
It gives me a lot of pressure. That when you come to understand that a whole country's peace of existence rests on you, gives me a lot of pressure. I'm motivated to do my work. But then, if you have too much motivation to do the work, it turns out to be pressure. Look, when we played Niger and were battered 4-0.
Oh, the recent game in Lomé.
In Lomé.
Right. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Everybody was down, you know. But me, it was normal for me because I said to myself that we still have our destiny in our hands. You need a draw in front of your fans to qualify. So why should that be a problem? But then, at the other side, I'm like, this was the first time I was told that the president of the nation and his cabinet were watching the game.
Oh, back home?
Yes.
Pressure.
And for the first time, we disappointed them.
Coach, I didn't buy it. I mean, since you've brought this...
Very, 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 very disheartening.
What happened?
So it's one of those days where everything is off color. Because check the stats. You will notice that it was 4 shots on target from Niger, and they scored. And normally does not happen in football games. That the team has 4 shots on target. Then every football game will be like basketball. If everybody is scoring on his shot on target. So for me, it was more or less, and at a point too, I could recognize that maybe we Sudan needed a reality check. Because up until that one, if you check our stats, in as many as I think 11 games, we had kept 9 clean sheets. We had only conceded, I think, 4 goals or 5 or something like that. So when you check the stats, defensively we were very, very solid. So I think going into that game, we were a little bit of arrogant, thinking that we could go and beat Niger, seal the qualification there. So coupled with all of these factors, I think brought us a reality check that gave us a different sense of how to approach the Angola game, because if we were not careful, then we would have lost on the last.
I'll let Prince come in and read. That looked like Manute's ball, but I don't think it is. The South Sudanese are so tall. Tell us about it. Because folks, coach is not short too. Coach will height because coach is pretty reasonably tall. Yeah. And this is average height, right?
Yeah, this is my good friend, Long John. I call him Long John, but he's James.
James, right.
Every time we go to South Sudan, he tries to have this same picture with me.
Just to check if he's grown, if you've grown a bit taller.
If I've grown a little bit taller.
They're friendly people.
But I tell you, there are people who are taller than James.
Sure.
In South Sudan.
They went to the Olympic Games, yes. And they did so well.
This guy, Long John, James.
Yeah.
Oh, James, my good friend.
Yeah, they are lovely people, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm telling you. Sudanese are very good people, trust me. Very, very good people. If they like you, they like you.
They're like the Italians. They wear their passion.
Yes, they have it in their heart. So somebody asked me, what is doing the trick? I said that it is the brain of Kwesi Appiah and the passion and the heart of these Sudanese boys. I'm telling you. It's the heart and the brain of Kwesi Appiah. So, and because Kwesi has worked there before, I think he knows them very well and how to get the best out of them. Trust me, Prince and Yao. Kwesi is too smart.